nor shall ever be. So when I say after the rapture of the church, there's great tribulation, what's the great tribulation? Well, it's just that. It's really great tribulation. In fact, it's so great, it cannot be compared to anything that happened before the earth started or anything when the earth ends. This is great tribulation. Bob, do we have any idea when? I mean, I know you don't know the rapture of the church, but do we have any idea when? Timetable, great tribulation. Well, we have a concept and we have an idea. Leave Daniel 12, just a few pages to the left. It's Daniel chapter 9. In Daniel chapter 9, starting in verse 20, Daniel 9 and 20, we read, Daniel's writing, "Now while I was speaking, praying, and confessing my sin, and the sin of my people Israel, and presenting my supplication before the Lord my God for the holy mountain of my God, yes, while I was speaking in prayer, the man Gabriel, whom I'd seen in the vision at the beginning, being caused to fly swiftly, reached me about the time of the evening offering, and he informed me and talked with me and said, 'O Daniel, I have now come forth to give you skill to understand. At the beginning of your supplications, the command went out, and I have come to tell you, for you are greatly beloved. Therefore, consider the matter and understand the vision.'" Now, before we go to verse 24, your attention, please. Daniel is a Jew, and he is deeply burdened for his people. And they're in captivity, and he wants to know how long. He wants to know when it will end. He's praying, "God, how long will the punishment of my people be? How long will Jerusalem suffer? God, how long?" I'm going to pick it up in the 24th verse. You follow along. I'll be using a newer translation. Listen, "A period of 70 sets of 7 has been decreed for your people and for your holy city to finish their rebellion, to put an end to their sin, to atone for their guilt, to bring in everlasting righteousness." Now listen to what he's saying. We're putting an end to sin. We're going to offer everlasting righteousness. How in the world is this going to happen? Continue. "To confirm the prophetic vision and to anoint the most holy place." Now listen and understand verse 25. 7 sets of 7 plus 62 sets of 7 will pass from the time the command is given to rebuild Jerusalem until a ruler, the anointed one, capital A, capital O, comes. Jerusalem will be rebuilt with streets and strong defense despite the perilous times, verse 26. "And after this period of 62 sets of 7, the anointed one will be killed," cut off in your translation, "appearing to have accomplished nothing, and a ruler will arise whose armies will destroy the city and the temple. The end will come with a flood and a war, and its miseries are decreed from the time to the very end. The ruler will make a treaty with the people for a period of 1 set of 7, but after half this time, he will put an end to the sacrifices and offerings, and as a climax to all of his terrible deeds, he will set up a sacrilegious object that causes desecration until the fate decreed for this defiler is finally poured out on him." It's not Gentile trouble, it's Jacob's trouble. It's trouble for Jewish people because they'll be on the planet. God's still punishing, God's still judging. Gentiles are being dealt with because their unbelief, and Hebrews are being dealt with because of great-great-great-great-grandfather's unbelief and the blindness that has been in part in Israel since the time Christ came. Great tribulation? Yeah, great tribulation is for the disobedience and unbelief of the Jewish people, for the wickedness and unrighteousness of the Gentile people. But for 7 years on planet Earth, words like Armageddon, words like 666, words like Antichrist, words like, yeah, that's when it happens. That's when what we read in Revelation actually goes down. It's scary stuff. Judgments from God to man. Watch. They're all 8 and 7. "The first angel sounded, and hail and fire followed, mingled with blood, and they were thrown to the earth, and a third of the trees were burned up, and all the green grass was burnt up." See that? Judgment. Verse 8, "Then the second angel sounded, and something like a great mountain burning with fire was thrown into the sea, and a third of the sea became blood, and a third of the living creatures in the sea died, and a third of the ships were destroyed. Verse 10, and then a third angel sounded, and a great star fell from heaven, burning like a torch. It fell on a third of the rivers and the springs and on the water. The star's name was Wormwood, and a third of the waters became wormwood, and men died from the water because the water was made bitter. Look at chapter 9, and look with me, starting in verse 3. Then out of the smoke locusts came upon the earth, and to them was given power, the kind of power scorpions have. Verse 4, they were commanded not to harm the grass of the earth or any green thing or any tree, but only those men who do not have the seal of God on their foreheads. And they were not given authority to kill them, but to torment them for 5 months. Their torment was like the torment of scorpions when it strikes man. Here's the sad footnote, verse 6. In those days, men will seek death and not find it. They will desire to die, and death will flee from them. Your attention, please. This is scary stuff. God is now showing up, not as the baby in the manger, not as the suffering man on a cross. No, he's coming back now in full form to judge the sin and base behavior of mankind. Now, how base? Keep in mind, it wasn't that bad when God decided to flood the planet. Don't need to turn there. It's Genesis 6 and 5. The Lord saw the wickedness of man was great on the earth, and that every intent of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. And the Lord was sorry he made man on the earth, and he was grieved in his heart. So the Lord said, I'll destroy man whom I've created from the face of the earth. His thoughts and his intents were evil. It wasn't even that he was always doing evil. It's just that he was always thinking evil. So it's great tribulation, great tribulation. Now, what does this doctrine do to me, and what does it do to you? Well, if the rapture of the church keeps me more pure because I don't know when he's going to come back, the great tribulation keeps me burdened because this is what's going to happen to people who don't know. So what's next? Number 3, quickly, the return of Jesus Christ, the second coming of Jesus Christ. Yeah. Before the second coming, there has to be a first going. We're out of here. Then the great tribulation. Then after the tribulation, yes, Jesus Christ comes back. Here's Matthew 24:29. 24:29. Jesus is speaking. Listen to this. Immediately after the tribulation of those days, the sun will be darkened, the moon will not give its light. The stars will fall from the heavens, and the powers of the heavens will be shaken. Then the sign of the Son of Man will appear in heaven, and all the tribes of the earth will mourn, and they will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. Did you see this? I think it'll be unlike anything we've ever seen. And what do I think it's going to look like? Well, in part, I know what it's going to look like because it's in the book. Acts chapter 1, look at verse 9. Here's what it's going to look like. Acts 1 and 9. Now, when he had spoken these things, while they watched, he was taken up in a cloud, received him out of their sight. And while they looked steadfastly toward heaven as he went up, behold, 2 men stood by them in white apparel, who also said, Men of Galilee, why do you stand gazing up to heaven? This same Jesus who was taken up from you into heaven will so come in like manner as you saw him go into heaven. Second coming of Christ? Yeah, I really do believe it. And part of the reason I believe it is the Bible tells me, listen to this, 1,845 times. The Bible says he's coming back. Now, if you believe anything about the Bible, you have to believe that because it's the only thing that's mentioned that many times. So he comes back. Why? He's setting up his kingdom on the earth because the next thing, what's next? The millennial reign. The millennial reign. Now, in closing, I want you to go with me to Revelation chapter 20 because you'll understand it much more there. Revelation chapter 20. And here's where we bring it to a close. Millennial reign. What is this? Well, it's a 1,000-year time period on planet Earth where things will be reconditioned. Listen to this. Into Eden-like conditions. So what does the millennium look like? Well, in part, we read Revelation 20 and 1. Then I saw an angel coming down from heaven. Listen, he's coming to earth. This is now we're already down here. Angel's coming down, having the key to the bottomless pit and a great chain in his hand. He laid hold of the dragon, the serpent of old, who is the devil and Satan, and bound him for 1,000 years. He cast him into the bottomless pit and shut him up and set a seal on him so that he should deceive the nations no more till the 1,000 years were finished. But after these things, he must be released for a little while, which is different from after the 1,000 years, because after the 1,000 years, we know according to the book, he's done away with completely. He's bound. Verse 4, and I saw thrones and they sat on them, and judgment was committed to them. And I saw the souls of those who had been beheaded for their witness to Jesus and for the word of God, who had not worshipped the beast or his image, and had not received the mark on their foreheads or on their hands. And they lived and reigned with Christ for 1,000 years. But the rest of the dead did not live again until the 1,000 years were finished. This is the first resurrection. Blessed and holy is he who has part of the first resurrection. Over such the second death has no power, but they shall be priests of God and of Christ, and shall reign with him for 1,000 years. Your attention, please. Christian, listen. We win. It's right there. We win. We win. So if in fact you're watching now and it doesn't look like you're winning, oh man, how are we going to turn this around? Trust me. At just the right time, our faithful leader yeah, baby. You're on your way to the end zone, man. And you're ready. And he's powerful. And he's victorious. And he made it. And we will too. Because that's how it ends. We win. We win. We win. We win. We win, man. We win.